Anita go. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Radhe Govinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hey Kala Chanji Radhe, Gaura Hari. Haribol, 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 Gouda Haribol, Janitai go, Anitai Gouda Haribol, 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 Gouda Haribol, Nityananda, Gouda Chandra. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada. Jaya Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Shila Guru Deva, TKG, Goswami Maharaj, Guru Dev, Guru Dev, Guru Dev, Jai Guru Dev. Harinama Sankirtan ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Jayom Vishnupad, Paramahamsa Brivrajagacharya, Ashtotara Satta Shishya Maharaj Divine Grace Lacey, Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki. Jayom Vishnupad, Paramahamsa Brivrajagacharya, Ashtotara Satta Shishya Maharaj Divine Grace Bhakti Sharanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnavarinda ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की श्री वृंदावन धाम की श्री नवदीप धाम की कलचंजी धाम की गंगामयी की जमुनमयी की भक्ति देव की तुलसी महारानी की हरिनाम संकीर्तन की बृहत् मृदंग की प्रसादम डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की Shama Veda Bhakta Vrinda ki. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Hare Krishna. Good morning, dear devotees. Welcome to the morning Srimad Bhagavatam class at Radhakala Shanji Dham. You're welcome. Thank you for your enthusiasm. So today we're going to be reading from Canto 4, Chapter 27. We'll go through verses 1 through 12, focusing on 12. The topic of today is one's attitude towards death depends on how one's lives they live. How you live your life is how your attitude towards death is. Yeah, pretty heavy, huh? Thank you, Prabhu. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Gopi Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Nandana Yamuna Tiravanachari Tira Yamuna Tiravanachari Tira Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Gopi Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamira Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamira Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Jaya. Shri Radha Madhava ki jai, Shri Radha Kalashanji ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We all do the prayers together. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devyam sarasvatim vyasam tato jayam udirayad nasta prayasha breshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati utamasoke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki om gyantimarandasya kananjana salakaya Chakshuranmrityam yena tasmai Shri Guruve namaha. Okay, we can turn to chapter 27th of the 4th canto, text 1. We'll get right into it. Each person can read one verse, please. Oh, we need a microphone. Okay, I'll read the first verse and then we'll get going. Text 1. The great sage Narad continued, My dear king, after bewildering her husband in different ways and bringing him under her control, the wife of King Prajna gave him all satisfaction and enjoyed sex life with him. So, this story is so interesting because we've got two different things going on, right? We've got the body of Prajna, which is explaining the intelligence, the mind, the body, the senses in this. And then it's actually really explaining, that the material life of marriage can get us in troubles in certain ways. And so in the previous chapter, we understand that Prajna was hunting, right? And when he was hunting, he became fatigued. And being fatigued, he went home and he took a bath and he put decorations on his body. And Srila Prabhupada explains that this fatigue comes from sinful life. This you're not happy. You become fatigued. And so in sinful life, one becomes fatigued. Their consciousness, they don't know what to do. So then they start to inquire, right? And so then the person might inquire, come home, take a bath, which is understood to be what Srila Prabhupada explains, is that one starts to take to spiritual life. They start to take to Krishna consciousness. They start to hear from saintly persons. They start to bathe themselves in Krishna consciousness. But the thing is that out of the sentiment of fatigue from their sinful life, that sometimes the intelligence isn't purified enough to understand why they're doing things and the importance of Krishna consciousness. And so what happens sometimes is because of our old past misdeeds, our own our past impressions, they come up. And if our intelligence isn't strong, then we have a capability of falling down. And so we want to strengthen the intelligence so that when we see that the modes of material nature, especially the modes of ignorance and passion, are coming upon us, that we can learn to divert them, right? We can automatically, we see them coming, we take right to listening to or chanting Hare Krishna, basically, right? And listening to saintly persons. Okay, let's go to text 2, please.
The queen took her bath and dressed nicely with all auspicious garments and ornaments. After taking food and becoming completely satisfied, she returned to the king. Upon seeing her beautifully decorated, attractive face, the king welcomed her with all devotion.
So the decoration of one's spouse is their Krishna consciousness for the devotee, right? Because when your spouse is nicely situated in Krishna consciousness, they're encouraging you in your Krishna consciousness, and they become a great wealth to the person, to the devotee. When we're able to come home, or our friends, or the people around us are Krishna consciousness, we become enthusiastic to serve in Krishna consciousness. Number 3, please.
Queen Puranjani embraced the king, and the king also responded by embracing her shoulders. In this way, in a solitary place, they enjoyed joking words. Thus King Puranjana became very much captivated by his beautiful wife and deviated from his good sense. He forgot that the passing of days and nights meant that his span of life was being reduced without profit.
So we have this situation, right, where we talked to you probably met people, right? My life is gone. You know, where did my life go? You know? Where have my last 40 years or 50 years gone? And every moment is so valuable in our life because it's the most valuable because we actually can't buy even a moment back, right? Even one moment can't be bought with $1 million. And so we really need to be conscious and use our intelligence nicely that we're using it in Krishna consciousness. Because like King Prajna, when we have the desire to become Krishna consciousness, she's ruthless. She's poking us, you know. And so we have to stay diligent in our Krishna consciousness every moment and purify our consciousness, our intelligence. Okay, number 4, please.
In this way, increasingly overwhelmed by illusion, King Puranjana, although advanced in consciousness, remained always laying down with his head on the pillow of his wife's arms. In this way, he considered woman to be his ultimate life and soul. Becoming thus overwhelmed by the mode of ignorance, he could not understand the meaning of self-realization, whether regarding his own self or the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So human life is meant for self-realization. But one who comes attached to material life, they become lost, right? However, to get back on track is to listen to saintly people. So very fortunate that each day we get to listen to Srimad Bhagavatam and hear from Srila Prabhupada's purports, right? To become unattached or from material life or a life of hell, and actually start to live a saintly life. And Prajna, who is a great soul, he's just becoming too attached to material life, and so he's bewildered. And so being attracted to this material life, he's forgetting his Krishna consciousness. And so he's starting to just lay with the mode of ignorance, basically, because his intelligence is the mode of ignorance, not understanding the goal of life. Instead, it's just, we'll just sit back and enjoy and lay with our spouse, thinking that's enjoyment, I guess you could say. Okay, let's go to 5.
My dear King Prachanabarhishat, in this way King Puranjana, with his heart full of lust and sinful reactions, began to enjoy sex with his wife, and in this way his new life and youth expired in half a moment.
There, right there. Where did my life go? My life expired in half a moment. I've noticed, at least in my life, that life is flying by. I'm 44, and my life's flying by. Like, I really like, somebody who says, oh, in a year, and I think, oh, that's not too long. Where when I was younger, it was like, oh my gosh, a year? That sounds like forever. And so I was talking to a senior devotee, and I was hoping at least that the understanding that as we become more of devotees, we understand the eternal aspect of forever. And so, my hope was that maybe I was becoming a little bit more Krishna consciousness and understanding this, my perspective was getting more in a broad sense. And so when I think of a year or a half a year, it's like, oh, it's just so quick, because we're trying for the ultimate goal. We're trying to go and enjoy with Krishna forever, and we get a little understanding of how many lifetimes, maybe not exactly an understanding, but we get some impressions. Oh, I must have had so many lifetimes before, because I can see how hard it is to overcome my impediments that I have, these anarthas, you could say, So anyways, in devotee life, we start to understand the bigger, broader picture and the eternalness of life, And so a year, 6 months, 1 week, 2 weeks, it's like just. However, in material life, they're also perceiving life as gone by a moment, but it's because they're distracted from the goal of life. They're just thinking about enjoying, and then a life of laying and working for, a life of working for materialistic enjoyment. There's no substance there, and so life passes by pretty quickly. Okay, we'll read the next 4 verses.
The great sage Narada then addressed King Prajnaparsit, O one whose lifespan is great, Virat. In this way, King Purajana begot 1,100 sons within the womb of his wife Puranjani. However, in this business, he passed away half of his lifespan.
That's a lot of sons.
Prajapati, King Prachina Parishad. In this way, King Puranjana also begot 110 daughters. All of them were equally glorified like the father and mother. Their behavior was gentle and possessed magnanimity and other good qualities.
Interesting. 1/10 were daughters and 1/9 were just interesting. Number 8, please.
After this, King Puranjana, the king of the Panchala country, in order to increase the descendants of his paternal family, married his sons with qualified wives and married his daughters with qualified husbands.
Of these many sons, each produced hundreds and hundreds of grandsons. In this way, the whole city of Panchala became overcrowded by the sons and grandsons of King Puranjana.
So what are the sons, the daughters, and the grandsons? Remember, Prajna is the body, the city is the body, right? And Prajna is the living entity. So what are this bewilderment of so many, or what did it say? Overcrowded. What's the overcrowdedness of so many grandsons and granddaughters? Any thoughts on that? Can somebody, I'm sorry, I kind of heard most of it, but I missed a little bit. I apologize.
So in my thoughts, I think that like they are just in number, not basically helping him in like spiritual life. They're just increasing the number of family members.
So they're not. We were talking about earlier about family members that are Krishna consciousness are a source of encouragement or enthusiasm for the devotee, but these grandsons and granddaughters possibly aren't Krishna consciousness, so they're not really helping him.
Yeah, it's just a burden of affection.
They're burdened, right? Yeah. You can also look at it as too is that these are the desires are the of the living entity, right? Desire comes 1, 2, multiply, and then all of a sudden our mind is overcome or overcrowded with different desires. We have no focus in life. We're bewildered. We can't see. We're just bewildered by so many different desires. And so when we come across the desire, material desires, and we try to satisfy those desires, they don't end. They just multiply and multiply and multiply. And so we start to live a life of overcrowdedness or frustration. Antari, you wanted to say something? Prabhupada Priya, go ahead.
Hare Krishna. I think according to the allegory, the sons and grandsons represent the reactions to his activities.
Yes.
Because of his indulgence, then the reaction, the consequence of sex is that you have children. So the consequence of his indulgence is that he gets many reactions, which cause him a lot of trouble in life.
Okay, number 10, please.
These sons and grandsons, did we read that? No. These sons and grandsons were virtually plunderers of King Puranjana's riches, including his home, treasury, servants, secretaries, and all other paraphernalia. Puranjana's attachment for these things was very deep-rooted.
So we have so many reactions and actions and reactions and become confused, unclear. And so our life is basically stolen away. It's life, we become depressed. We don't have a goal in life. And so this life being stolen from us just leads to another birth, another death, and then we live another unfulfilled life until we come to Krishna consciousness, where we start to make life, which we'll hear about here pretty soon, worthwhile. Okay, 11, please.
Text 11. The great sage Narada continued, "My dear King Prachina Barashit, like you, King Puranjan also became implicated in so many desires. Thus he worshipped demigods, forefathers, and social leaders with various sacrifices, which were all very ghastly because they were inspired by the desire to kill animals."
So there's something very interesting in this verse. Does anybody catch maybe something that's really unique in the sense of where the shift in this verse is? Ajit. Yeah. Right? This is the first time that he said, by the way, this is about you. For so much before he's been telling the story and explaining it, and he says right here, like you. Oh, right? Okay, 12, can we go to 12, and then we're going to dive into this verse, please.
Thus King Prajana.
I apologize. We're going to read the Sanskrit first, if you wouldn't mind. You can do the Sanskrit, though. Okay. 12, please. Okay. Yukte Shivam Paramatyasya Kuntam Basyatya Chetasaha Asasyadya Savya Kalyo Yo Priya Yositam Yukte Shivam Paramatasya Kuntam Basyatya Chetasaha Asasyadya Savya Kalyo Yo Priya Yositam. Maybe one or two, please. Yukte Sevam Pramattasyam
Kutumba Sakta Chetasa
Kuntamba Satya Chetasaha
Asasada Savai Kalo
Asasyadya Savai Kalyo
Yo Priya Priyo Yoshitam
Yo Priya Yositam Yukte Shivam Pramatasya
Kutumba Sakta Chetasaha
Chetasaha
Asasada Savaikalo
Asasyad Savai Kalyo
Yo Priya Yoshitam.
Yo Priya Yositam. Okay. Synonyms are the word for word. Together, please. Yukte shu, to beneficial activities. Evam, thus. Paramatyasya, being attentive. Kuntumba, the kith and kin. Askyata, attached. Tetasya, consciousness. Asyada, arrived. Saha, though. Vai, certainly. Kalaha, time. Ya, which. Apriya, not very pleasing. Priya yositam, for persons attached to women. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. You want to read the translation?
Thus King Purajana, being attached to fruitive activities, kama kandya, as well as kith and kin, and being obsessed with polluted consciousness, eventually arrived at that point, not very much liked by those who are overly attached to material things.
Purport by His Divine Grace. And we're going to hear a wonderful story here and see if you can catch the 4 different characters of this story and what their antidote is by the saintly person. In this verse, the words Priya Yositam or Apriya are very significant. The word Yosit means women, and Priya means dear or pleasing. Death is not very much welcome for those who are too much attached to material enjoyment, which accumulate in sex. There is an instructive story in this connection. Once, when a saintly person was passing on his way, he met a prince, a son of a king, and he blessed him, saying, "My dear prince, may you live forever." The sage next met a saintly person and said to him, "You may either live or die." Eventually, the sage met a brahmachari devotee, and he blessed him, saying, "My dear devotee, you may die immediately." Finally, the sage met a hunter, and he blessed him, saying, "Neither live nor die." The point is that there are those who are very sensual and are engaged in sense gratification do not wish to die. Generally, a prince has enough money to enjoy his senses. Therefore, a great sage said that he should live forever. For as long as he lived, he could enjoy life. But after his death, he would go to hell. Since the brahmachari devotee was leading a life of severe austerities and penances in order to be promoted back to Godhead, the sage said that he should die immediately, so that he need not continue to labor hard and could instead go back home, back to Godhead. A saintly person may either live or die, but during his life he is engaged in the service of the Lord, and after his death he also serves the Lord. This life and the next are the same for the saintly person, for in both he serves the Lord. Since the hunter lives in very ghastly life due to killing animals, and since he will go to hell when he dies, he is invited to neither live nor die. King Puranjana finally arrived to the point of old age. In old age, the senses lose their strength, and although an old man desires to enjoy his senses, and especially sex life, he is very miserable because his instruments of enjoyment no longer function. Sensualists are never prepared for death. They simply want to live on and extend their life by so-called scientific advancement. Some foolish Russian scientists also claim that they are going to make man immortal through scientific advancement. Under the leadership of such crazy fellows, civilization is going on. Cruel death, however, comes and takes all of them away despite their desire to live forever. This type of mentality was exhibited by Hiranyakashipu, and when the time was ripe, the Lord personally killed him within seconds. What a wonderful story by Srila Prabhupada, right? So what are the four characters? What's the first one? The prince. And what's the prince's antidote by the sage? Live forever. And Srila Prabhupada explains, why should he live forever? Because he's going to hell. Because right now, you got it pretty good. You have all the facility to enjoy. You're a prince. You're royalty. You have all the money in the world. You have so many servants. better just to keep on going, because afterwards you're gonna be struggling, right, in the life of hell. And then what's next? Brahmachari. And what's the antidote for the brahmachari? Die immediately. This is really interesting, right? Because Srila Prabhupada specifically says this is a devotee, but he has a certain antidote for this person to die immediately. And why should this person die immediately? Which is different than the other saintly person. His goal is to go back home to Godhead. This devotee right here, which is being called a brahmachari, but we meet this kind of devotee so often, right? In the sense that they just want to go back home together. They're pretty just fixed, and I'm going back home, back to Godhead. And so he says, well, just die immediately, then you don't have to do so many, so much austerity. You can just go right now back to Godhead. Now this other devotee, the saintly person, he's given the antidote what? To live or die. So why is this situation different than the in the story is the brahmachari? He's rightly situated. He's rightly situated in what way? His life is no different, either there in the spiritual world. Why? Because he's serving Krishna. This is the only aim, is to do service. So when he's serving, it doesn't matter if he's doing it here, because this is none different than the spiritual world, because all he cares about is serving Krishna. And in the transcendental world, he's just serving Krishna. So this is a rightly situated devotee. Yes, Prabhupada Priya. We got a mic? Please.
The way I understood this is that, in Vedic culture, the brahmachari is a young person, right? Age 5 to 25. So it's a young person who has very strong senses, but who is basically denying the senses from their enjoyable objects. But they may not have the realization to be relishing the bliss of Krishna consciousness, which gives them the higher taste. So it's kind of like a grinding the teeth, situation. Whereas the saintly person, I get the impression that he's a more advanced devotee who's, as Gokulananda said, properly situated, but also he's relishing Krishna consciousness. He's just feeling transcendental bliss all the time, serving Krishna. And so, unlike the brahmachari who's just like focusing on controlling his mind, controlling his senses, doing austerities, doing menial service, this saintly person he's tasting the nectar at every moment of Krishna consciousness. So whether he stays alive or dies, it's all the same. Either way, he's happy serving Krishna.
Yeah, specifically saying that, like in this story, they say brahmachari. This is really not about being the brahmachari or not being the brahmachari. It's the state of the person's spiritual life, right? This is a neophyte devotee, like in a sense that they're They're just, here, I want to go back home. I want to go back to Godhead. How do I do it? And then, the saintly person, through service, I am there. I'm already back home, back to Godhead. I'm already right there with Krishna. Krishna is always there right with me. So this is a mature devotee, right? They understand that they're just doing what they can to serve every moment. Not to get something, to go back home to Godhead, but just to serve. And then the hunter. The hunter is said to what? The antidote for the hunter. Yeah, neither live nor die. That's pretty depressing, right? Like, don't even live, don't die. You're simply sinning right now, and so therefore your life, your activities are nothing but trouble, and then when you die, you're simply going to have trouble. So in the last paragraph, Srila Prabhupada speaks about the old age of, yes. By the way, we started a little bit late, so I'm going to go over time, just to let you guys know.
Okay, Hare Krishna. So the difference, that's a very good question, because that's the difference we are trying to bring out between the brahmachari and the sannyasi. Mm-hmm. So the reason that occurred to me was this, although your explanation was great. So the brahmachari, when as a potential to next become a grahastha, if he so chooses to become a grahastha, which most is likely to happen, although some brahmacharis may directly take sannyasam as their next step. So so that's why he was awarded death immediately, so that he doesn't have to get into the samsara by becoming a grahastha and getting into likely to get into the mundane world and material consciousness, so to speak. And that's not the case with the sannyasi, however, because he has already either been a grahastha or not, and finally he has come to the right stage of God consciousness, of Krishna consciousness, so to speak. That's why it doesn't matter for the sannyasi whether he is alive or he is immediately dead. So that was the reason. So that was occurring to me. So,
okay.
Thank you.
I was really trying to communicate. I'm hoping to hear that it's not about the certain ashram that the person's in, or calling a brahmachari or a saintly person or a sannyasi. That really we're talking about a certain consciousness, right? A certain way of living, a way of understanding Krishna consciousness, or a immature realization and a mature realization of a devotee, right? And so in old age, we start to look at death a little bit more serious, right? Our body starts to get old. Our facility to enjoy is rapidly decreasing. And so old age can be a friend or an enemy to the living entity, to the person. I remember once I asked my guru, I said, Maharaj, when might I take Krishna consciousness seriously? Because I was in a place where I was like, gosh, I'm practicing Krishna consciousness, but when is it going to be like, when am I going to be a saintly person, I guess you could say. I mean, I didn't really think that, but I was thinking that, When did it come from austerity to I'm doing sadhana bhakti and I'm getting up and doing this, and this, checking off my chart? When would it get to the point where I'm living as, I just want to serve. I just love serving devotees and serving Krishna. He said to me, don't worry. He said, old age is coming. An old age to the devotee is very nice, because you don't have the facility to enjoy. Not even the enjoyment that you get from serving others, right? What I mean by that is more of a material sense gratification from it. We understand as devotees we're at different levels, right? So we're trying to purify ourselves. And so in the process of purification, some of the things that we do aren't necessarily transcendental, but some of it can be, I'm getting some enjoyment from this, from my false ego. But as we grow old, the body not being able to enjoy starts to have to think about, what is life about? Why am I here? What's the goal of life? And so for the devotee, old age becomes a very nice friend. And so continuing that, death also is a very nice friend for the devotee. Why? Because that's their opportunity to go back home, back to Godhead. And we're trying to become the saintly person where neither one of these matters, whether we live or die. However, we don't want to be complacent, as we've heard about the story of King Prajna, in the sense of he starts to become Krishna consciousness, and then because he gets distracted because his intelligence isn't strong enough, then he all of a sudden half his life is wasted, right? So we should be very eager to perform our sadhana bhakti. Srila Prabhupada, we're studying Nectar of Instruction in Bhakti Shastri, right? So he encourages us to wake up early, go to Mangala Arti, chant our rounds, go to Srimad Bhagavatam class. And so you can look at every morning we wake up, right? We have a birth, I guess you could say, every morning. And so how are you going to go forward in your day? And so if we start off in the morning really fixing our intelligence and Krishna consciousness with our Krishna conscious activities, we can go throughout the day really much easier thinking of Krishna. And so this is a main practice of a devotee, is waking up early, getting our intelligence purified. I'm going to live this day for Krishna. I'm going to do my best to serve Krishna and his devotees, and I'm committed to that. And then gradually it just becomes our life. Our life is just about serving Krishna and serving the devotees. And so this is purifying the intelligence. And so for the devotee, we're living life, and death is becoming one thing that we look at totally different than the person who's living a life of material enjoyment, where death is quite feared, actually. Should we have a healthy fear of death as devotees? Yes, right? We should be healthy fear. But our fear isn't that things are going to be taken away from me. Our fear is, have I purified myself where I'm going to make it? Am I going to go back home to Godhead? So, or sometimes we can even get to a little bit of fear of like, well, I have some service that I'm doing, Who's going to take care of that service? We have some confidence that Krishna will surely take care of the devotees and our stuff. But still, that personal part of this is my service, this is what I do is there. And so you'll notice in devotees that in some older devotees, they're very careful. And sometimes you'll be like, why are you, I've done this before, why do you seem to be so afraid of death? It's not they're afraid of death. It's that they have service to do. I got a place to go, and I got a thing to do because I want to serve Srila Prabhupada. So we live a life of service, and therefore death becomes a friend, and we have no worries. We can live with great confidence. Any questions, comments, thoughts? Please.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for class. I'm wondering in the purport, you might have said, I might have missed, but what is this talking about? Eventually arrived at that point, not very much liked by those who are overly attached to material things. What is that?
Yes. Death.
Oh, okay.
Death. This is, you're oh my gosh, everything's going to be taken away from me. What have I lived my life for? Oh my gosh. What's the meaning of my life? Yeah, death. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
I was just wondering if you had, maybe from the purport or something, any explanation why he got so many more sons and daughters. One thought I was thinking was that, I read at one point from Prabhupada that he says, if the man is sexually stronger than the woman, then you get a son. If the woman is sexually stronger, then you get a female daughter. So I was just wondering if you had any thoughts on that.
Thoughts why there's so many sons?
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't know. Yeah. I know that in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that because there's no contraception in spiritual life, that you have as many kids as you have. This is your, you want to enjoy sex life, and have the kids, to go to go with that sex life, and then after 10 or 12, maybe your sex urge lowers a little bit, after 12 kids. Anyways, sorry.
It looks like it didn't lower for him.
It didn't. No,
because he kept getting sons.
Yeah, right. I mean, in the story, he's got a palace that's just magnificent, right? And so so the natural consequence for us, in a sense of this material world, is we have limited resources. So if we have sex life and have children, there's a natural consequence of it when it's materially fueled, right? And even, yes, when it's material fueled. But if we go through the natural consequences, eventually we go, wait a minute, if I keep on doing this, I'm going to be 85 when my kid's 10. That doesn't work. So you're like, all of a sudden the urge of the consequence, goes away. But when you're a king and you have every avenue to have people take care of your children and stuff like that, maybe the natural consequence of having children isn't present. Yeah? What do you think? Krishna Priya? She has a thought.
Because the sons and grandsons were the plunderers of King Puranjana's riches. So then, I guess if you have more sons, it makes the analogy stronger.
Usually, much better thieves, huh? Than plunderers, pirates. Arr. Any other questions, comments, thoughts? Golokananda Prabhu.
Thank you, Nanda Vraj Prabhu. It was a wonderful class. Ajit Prabhu, what he said, this is my personal opinion. When Prabhupada says anything, it's got to be contextual. It can never be black and white statement, because Vedic texts themselves are contextual. They're never textual. Either this or that, no. So there could be several other factors. Like when we say, I'm the doer, right? I'm not the only doer, we know that. Krishna has explained that there are 5 doers, right? So similarly, going back to that statement, there could be several other biological factors. Then in Vedic scriptures, it is mentioned there are planets also, they also have influence whenever child is being begetted. Then it also depends on the baggage of the couple, the karma, right? There are texts where, to beget the son, you need to have this and this, the pious credits, things like that are mentioned in the scriptures. So it is never black and white. That is my personal opinion. It depends on the context. It depends on several other external factors as well.
This is a good point, right? Because Srila Prabhupada talks about this in one of the purports, that the goal of having children in the Krishna consciousness family is to attract a Krishna conscious child, right? So we have a system or a samskara to do that, chanting extra rounds and stuff, because we're trying to attract a Krishna conscious child. And when you have a Krishna conscious child, the greatness of that is just, there's no comprehension how wonderful it is to have a Krishna conscious child. Just like the spouse who enlivens one another through their Krishna consciousness, Krishna conscious children. enliven the whole family. So I think that what I'm trying to say is, I think the most important thing is how do we live a life, a spiritual life, and how do we properly have children so that we can be a Krishna conscious family. Yes, Prabhupada Priya, please. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna.
Yeah, in those times, begetting children, that's probably what to say, begetting children was something very, you know, it wasn't just like, let's have a kid, but it was, it was something very conscientious, very intentional, it was very planned, and so it would be according to their desire, and there were rituals that they would do in order to, ensure that the kind of child that they get is the child that they want. Mm-hmm. And we hear that Maharaj Paranjana was doing all these karmakanda yagyas and things, so there are sacrifices that one can do to ensure that one gets, a male child. Mm-hmm. Even I know devotees do some of these things sometimes. And and there's also, so I suspect that Paranjana was doing it. Prabhupada mentions in the purport that Paranjana wanted male children, and therefore that's why he had male children. So if you want male children, and you know that there are these ways to get male children, and he was in the practice of doing karmakanda yagyas, so I'm pretty sure that it's kind of like safe to assume that he was doing those things to get male children.
Okay. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Pramanande Hari Bharipo. Vanchikalpatrubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Antikoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.